All right, from McConnell Air Force Base all the way to Yokota, Tokyo, Japan. So I was not pregnant when we moved out here, so it was just me, my husband, and my 18-month-old son, who you are seeing on the screen right now. When we got here, they had us attend this briefing. And the briefing was, they threw a bunch of stuff at us. It was a lot of stuff, like what to do in case Mount Fuji erupts and just a bunch of stuff. It was hard to take all of it in because it's a lot of information. However, what I did hear and what stood out to me was if you are pregnant here at Yokota Air Force Base and you are high risk, so if you have twins or there's some sort of medical condition that will make you high risk, or if you want to have a VBAC or try for a VBAC, that they did not do that here on the base. So anyone that was attempting to do that or was deemed as high risk was having to be sent to, it was either Okinawa, so that's like a flight. You have to take a flight from Yokota to go down there, or they were going to Hawaii, which is about an 8-hour flight from here, and you would be going by yourself, not with your husband. And the best option, though, which I think everyone prays for whenever they're in this situation, is the Navy base, which is Yokosuka, which is about 2.5 hours away from the base. I was not pregnant, like I said at the time, but I just remember thinking, wow, that really sucks. Like, even if, because in the little pamphlet that stated that, it said that if you were overweight, then that was considered high risk. Well, as you're seeing on the screen right now, couple months later, yeah, I found out, this is like 6 months later, I found out I was pregnant. Yay! Exciting, right? Oh my gosh, I was terrified because I kept remembering everything that the brief was talking about. I was like, oh my gosh, because with my son, I had an emergency C-section. So I wanted to try to have a VBAC. I really wanted to try that. So immediately I told my doctor about that, and it was actually my neighbor. She was the gynecologist, so she was literally right across the street. And I told her, I think I'm pregnant. She said, come on in. She did an ultrasound, so I just put the ultrasound picture on the back of my husband's card for his birthday, and that's how I announced that we were pregnant.
Science. Wow.
Honey, oh my gosh.
I love you. Yay, so we're pregnant, and now we're thinking, oh my goodness, now we need a plan of action because, yeah, we're in a foreign country. Let's see how things work. So I was talking to my doctor, and I told him I was really concerned because at the briefing, I remember hearing that high risk pregnancies are having to be transferred off, somewhere else. And he was saying, yes, like high risk pregnancy. So if I want to do a VBAC, I have to go to Yokosuka. But anything like, even if I didn't want to go to Yokosuka, if I was overweight, I would have to deliver off base. I'm like, off base? Oh my gosh, like that's so scary because let me just tell you a little something about off base, okay? First of all, it's very, very hit or miss. Like there's gonna be a language barrier. Like they have their translating, um, I don't even know what to call it, like a pocket phone translator thing. And then, everyone has their phone as a translator, like a Google app translator. But I'm telling you, I don't understand what it is with like the Japanese language. It's so hard to translate. So the language barrier is a huge, like, stress. But on top of that, the Japanese don't really believe in like pain medication or C-sections. And I had met this lady. This was like right before I found out I was pregnant. And she had just given birth, like her baby was just a couple weeks old, and she was saying it was really stressful. Like she didn't understand what they were saying, and so she was just trying to like focus on her breathing and just like, okay, like, let's get this baby out of here. So she was overweight, so they sent her off base to an off base clinic, and she went into labor earlier as well, so off base is where they sent her. But she was saying that they were doing like electric shock on her belly, and they had lifted her legs above her head, and it was just so stressful and complicated, and she didn't know what to do. And so the culture here in Japan is not very, how do you say this? Like, they don't budge. Like, what they say is what happens. Like, even at like fast food restaurants, they give you two ketchup packets and you're like, can I have a third? And it's like, like, no, I can't do that. It's against the rules kind of thing. So it's really weird. And then a lot of the hospitals here don't really have a good view of the Americans, because as Americans, we have, especially when it comes to giving birth, we have a birthing plan and we have requests that we would like, during the process. And so we are labeled as being very difficult. And so some of the hospitals, I have heard a rumor that they won't even, what do you say, like take Americans in because the Americans are too difficult. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that that lady's story was true, about her legs going over her head and electric shock. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to avoid that at all cost. So I definitely made it known to all of my doctors that I did not, like, put it on my record, put like everywhere. I do not want to go off base whatsoever. And I still have Japanese friends here, my Japanese friends here that have given birth off base, and they confirmed everything, that yes, like it is very much so, like you do whatever the doctor says and you don't say anything, and they're not really into pain meds or C-section. So yeah, you just gotta go with it. And I was like, yeah, nope, no, thank you. I remember at one point too, my doctor was telling me, now that you're pregnant, you have two dental cleanings that you can get. So I went to the dentist, and I remember there was a dental hygienist there, and she was Japanese. And I just was making small talk with her while she was getting all her equipment ready. And I just asked her very curiously, so what made you want to work on base, as opposed to working at the dental clinics off base? Because if you Google it, there is actually a ton of dental offices, dental places here in Japan. Like, they're overpopulated. I don't know what what you call it, but there's like a bunch of them. And she was saying that she really liked the way that the Americans did their hygiene practices, because the way that the Japanese, all the clinics that she had worked at, and the people that she had worked under, the hygiene practices were not sanitary. And so she really, really liked the American standard of hygiene. And then she started cleaning my mouth. And so, of course, I can't talk to her while I'm having my teeth cleaned. And then the doctor came, or the dentist came in, and then that was it. But that like stuck in my mind, like, if the hygiene is not up to standards, to the American standards in a dental clinic, I doubt that the hygiene standards are up to par in a hospital. And I'm telling you, if you're watching this and you've never been to Japan, I'm telling you, when I first got here, I was under the impression that Japan, like the Japanese people, are some of the cleanest people like on planet Earth, because there's so many YouTube videos and so much stuff on social media that says that everything here in Japan is clean, and it's just we get under the assumption that these people are just super, super clean. But I'm telling you, that is not the case. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people pull their mask down and just wipe their snot all over their sleeve and cough and sneeze real nasty out of their mask, like towards people, like not caring, not washing their hands in the bathroom. Like, They're normal people like we are too. There's disgusting Americans and there's disgusting Japanese people. Like there's absolutely nothing. And the level of hygiene practice that the Americans hold for dentistry is what that lady was saying is the main reason why she wanted to practice on base. So that was my main goal was, okay, I'm either going to give birth, like I need to fly back to the States and give birth, um, back in the States, like where my family is, or I need to just make sure that whatever happens, I do not go off base whatsoever. That was the goal. So here we are, and I'm talking to my doctor, and he lets me know, okay, this is how it works. If you want to do a VBAC, then we're going to be sending you to Yokosuka, and you're going to stork nest there for 12 weeks at the Navy base, which is 3 hours away. I still wasn't familiar with driving off base because here in Japan, you drive on the other side of the road. Woo! And at this point, my son is 2 years old. So my doctor told me, you're going to want to call and find a hotel on or off base as close to the Navy base as possible or on the Navy base. And you're going to take your son with you. And during those 12 weeks, you need to like go to the park and you need to go to places to meet other moms and try to find a babysitter, someone that can take care of your son while you go into labor. And even on top of that, so his boss was not wanting him to take any leave to join me while I was giving birth. And then on top of that, the COVID stuff that was happening, they were saying like I was going to have to wear a mask the whole time and my husband wouldn't be allowed in the room. So, woo, yeah, and no family could come over to help out because Japan had closed its borders and the borders are still closed as I'm making this video. So it was just really like, wow, okay, it's time to pray and it's time to really start looking at other options. So we decided to do a humanitarian visa. We contact the Japanese consulate near my mom, where she lives in the United States, and then we contacted them here in Japan. We got a medical letter from my doctor stating, yes, my husband isn't going to be taking leave time, and I do have a 2-year-old, and I do need help because I'm going to, like, I literally don't have anyone here, you know? And in case I do get a C-section, I'm going to need that additional help. And so my doctor wrote a medical letter. We went on to the government website that the military base told us to go to. We filled out all of the paperwork. We had to buy my mom's airfare before we even were approved, which is thousands of dollars, which is so scary. Like, yes, we got a an airfare ticket where we can be reimbursed, but it was still terrifying to spend thousands of dollars when you don't even know if the paperwork is going to be approved. And a lot of people, the majority of people were telling us it wasn't going to be approved because no one had been approved for this before. But this was the beginning of the pandemic, so no one really had to do this. So, whew, man, after doing all of the paperwork, doing online phone calls, setting up appointments for my mom, getting the airline tickets in advance, scheduling her rapid test, and then having to change it because it had to be within a window of time. Oh man, all of that finally, just like a couple weeks before me having to leave to Stork Nest, my mom got approved and she was able to get onto the flight. So thank you, Jesus. She got here. It was just a couple of weeks before I had to go out to Yokosuka. Thank you, Jesus. They also lowered the time because I kept fighting with my doctor, telling him that I thought 12 weeks to go out there. Like, I wasn't comfortable with that. Like, why do I have to spend 12 weeks on a different base, like away from my family, you know, away from my husband? So they thankfully changed it. I think they changed it to 5 weeks is what they said. And so I spent 1 week with my mom here at home, and then I said goodbye to my son, and I went to Yokosuka, and thankfully my husband had put in paperwork, and he got some time approved to come and stay with me. So we got a couple weeks together before the baby arrived, which was amazing. And I even had a friend that drove from Yokota to Yokosuka because it was around Christmas time, so they needed to get like Christmas gifts for like the squadron. So they were able to drop off my son. So my son and my mom got to visit at the Yokosuka base, and then a couple days later they went back. So that was really nice, and it was really, really a unique experience. Like, holy cow, I don't think I've ever been that stressed out my whole life at all. But it was good memories and good time to have with my husband. And at some point, I just remember, wow, this is just so out of control. Like all the restrictions and regulations keep changing for COVID. And there was just so much stress with like whether the humanitarian visa was going to be approved, whether I was going to be sent off base or not. And I just remember like at the 6 month mark or 7 month mark, I was like, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to waste any more time just feeling worried or stressed or having all of this anxiety. What we're going to do is just enjoy our time as a family. And we're just going to enjoy these moments, and whatever happens, happens. And we're prayerfully going to ask God to send my mom here. But if my mom doesn't come, it's going to be okay. And so we did. We spent a lot of time just making amazing memories as a family of three. And then when my daughter came, we made amazing memories as a family of four. And it was awesome that my mom got to meet my daughter and got to spend time with us. And yeah, it was really cool. And the Yokosuka, right? Yokosuka, oh my gosh, the Navy base. The Navy base has an amazing, amazing, I'm telling you, oh my gosh, it was the best experience of my life. I gave birth to my son at a, what is it called? They're like, no, a birthing center. And I was really terrified to do, like, to give birth on a military base because I was thinking, oh my gosh, there's no way that military people are like trained to be hospitable and nice and kind. Like they're usually very direct and rude. That's just how it is, you know? I'm like, I doubt in boot camp they like teach them to be nice, you know? So, oh man, it was the best experience ever. They were absolutely the kindest people, like some of the kindest people I have met here in Japan. And they were so, like, I came in with my birth plan and they met it to the T. Because it was Christmas time, they let me bring in like a little mini Christmas tree. They turned on Christmas music for me. Oh my gosh, it was just so amazing. Because it was at the Navy base, I actually got steak and lobster as my hospital meal. Like, come on, it was just. The doctor was so sweet, and the nurses were absolutely amazing. 10 out of 10. I was telling my husband if I could have the same staff attend to me that attended to, you know, when I gave birth to my daughter, if I could have those exact people there, I would definitely give birth again. Like I would be pregnant right now, doing it all over again. But, you know, people are always coming and going in the military, so yeah, it's definitely never guaranteed to have that same experience. And with that experience, actually, with the VBAC, it was crazy because we had gone through all of this paperwork, all of this hassle, all of this headache of, you know, what's going to happen and all of this. And just like a couple days before my daughter's due date, I just had like this intense feeling that I needed to have a C-section. Which didn't make sense. I had even had a doula and everything, and I felt prepared. Like mentally, I was ready to do it, you know? And I didn't say anything. I just prayed about it. And my husband, the very next day, within 24 hours, had told me the same thing. He's like, hey, this is going to sound weird, and I don't want you to get mad at me, but I feel like maybe we should be doing a C-section for this. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, that confirmed it. Yes. So I talked to my doctor, and he was so chill. Like, he was like, yes, like whatever you want to do, we're going to do. If you want to do the C-section, then there's not a big deal. Like, we'll schedule it for her due date. You know, you'll come in, I think it was like 6 a.m. and we'll do it. And I remember going in, and I was like, I had such a peace about it that I knew I was doing the right thing. And thank God, because when they had cut me open and they pulled her out, first of all, let me just say this. At Yokota, they told me that my daughter would be around 6.5 or 7 pounds, that she was a nice, healthy baby. She wasn't a big baby at all. She was 9 pounds, 6 ounces. That's a big baby. So, and what's crazy is she had pooped in the womb. So I don't know if that's what caused a lack of oxygen or what, but when she was born, they almost rushed her to the NICU off base because there's not a NICU at Yokota or at the Navy base. It would have to be off base, which is a nightmare. I had a friend go through, her daughter went through the NICU, and that was just a total nightmare. So I was just crying and praying. But because my daughter was born with 50% oxygen, so they were getting ready to transport her. And I told my husband to reach out to our church community here in Japan and back in the States to pray. And we prayed and we prayed and we prayed. And just within a couple minutes, it had spiked up. Like her breathing was at, I don't remember the numbers, but it was enough for her to stay. And it continued to head in the right direction. But they wanted to continue to monitor her. So it was a couple hours that it took for me to actually have her in my arms and be able to breastfeed her. But I was just so thankful that she didn't go off base because, oh man, I am telling you the story. Like I was there with my friend. I'm like, she's gonna have to go to counseling for the stuff that she had to endure, like, and the stuff that her daughter went through at the NICU. It's just horrific. Like, I just pray that that doesn't happen to anyone else. You know what I mean? But thank God it didn't happen to my daughter, Gabriella, and God came through, man. And I'm just so thankful because honestly, first of all, my daughter didn't have any, like my pregnancy didn't progress. Like she wasn't dropped, I wasn't dilated, like nothing like that. I wasn't having any contractions, nothing like that was happening. And so she was just there. They were like, well, are we, like, they didn't want to induce me because I guess there's like higher risk for that stuff if you've already had a C-section. Anyways, there was a lot of woulda, coulda, shoulda. They were just being cautious about everything. And I'm just so thankful that I listened to the Lord and I had a C-section, even though that wasn't in the plan. Yeah, always trust your intuition and that feeling and just prayerfully go about it because God knows what's best for you and your baby. So if you're watching this and you're wondering, what it's going to be like giving birth here at Yokota, I don't know what giving birth like in Yokota is because I didn't give birth here, but I can tell you the good news is they are changing the way that they're doing things here. And I heard a little rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, but I heard that they are bringing a specialist here at Yokota. So for mommies that want to give birth through a VBAC or want to attempt a VBAC, that now they are not going to have to stork nest and be transported anywhere else. And hopefully, I'm really praying for this, that hopefully if they're high risk, they can stay on base as well and not go off base. So anyways, just praying. Yes, I hope that there's changes because that really needs to be a change that happens because it's ridiculous. Like so much stress, unnecessary stress. There's enough stress that that we have to deal with, with pregnancy and all of this stuff. And then that added layer of, oh, just so you know, you're going to be going somewhere else for 12 weeks, even if it is Hawaii. I don't want to go to Hawaii by myself, like without my husband and with a 2-year-old. Are you kidding me? There's nothing relaxing about being somewhere away from my husband with a 2-year-old. Like we're going to be away from our bed and all the things that are comfortable to us. And we're going to have to pack like the whole house with us just to be at least somewhat comfortable and familiar. So no, thank you. I don't know. That's just my experience. And what I also liked about the Navy base is after 24 hours, they let me transfer to the family room. And then I recovered a few hours after that, and then they asked me if I wanted to go home or if I wanted to stay. And so even though the meals were amazing, I mean, steak and lobster, you know what I mean? That's amazing. I wanted to go home. So we went home, and yeah, it was nice to not have to stay at the hospital longer than needed. So, yep, if you are watching this and you're pregnant, don't be stressed out. Pray and just listen to what God has for in store for you and your pregnancy, and enjoy your pregnancy, because you never know when it's your last one. Like, you got to go into it thinking, okay, I may not ever be pregnant ever again in my lifetime, so let me enjoy these moments that I have with my family before the baby comes. So yeah, don't be stressed out. Everything is going to be okay. If you have any questions, hit me up on my Instagram. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.